you're getting on. You sat by the fireside, pondering on. Picture book, pictures of your mama, taken by your papa a long time ago. Picture book of people with each other to prove they love each other a long time ago. Picture book, picture book.
Well, we hope you're tied on as we get settled for a new racing week, 4 consecutive racing days, in fact, through Sunday here at Gulfstream Park. It's Ron Nicoletti, Jason Blewett alongside. Hope you had a good 3-day dark day period, if you will. We're back at it, Ronnie. A little breezy outside, but nonetheless some great conditions here in South Florida for racing.
Yeah, fast main track, firm turf course, 1.2 million plus in the Rainbow Six. Looks like we're going to have a nice day of racing. And the wind has been strong for the last couple of days, but I don't think it'll affect racing at all today.
No, we didn't have any precipitation. It rained up by me. In fact, poured up in northern Lauderdale before I came down to the races today. Yeah, absolutely. But again, bone dry here in Hallandale Beach. As we dive into our housekeeping portion of this edition of Gulfstream today, and first and foremost, you got some serious pedigree and lineage in back-to-back races. In fact, half siblings out of the wonderful race mare and former horse of the year and Have the Grace in races 7 and 8. You've got Riverfront and Graceful Princess, who were both foaled for owner breeder Mandy Pope after she purchased Have the Grace nearly 7 years ago, Ronnie, for a cool $10 million.
$10 million and Riverfront by Warfront.
And the other filly, in fact, is by Tappet. We've also got, as far as Arundel, they've got 4 runners this afternoon. They scratched General Obvious out of the third race. They've got Richard the Great coming back. So did you pick him in that spot?
What Richard that?
He's in the third.
I think I did. No, I did not.
No, maybe it's the fourth. It's pretty early, his race.
Oh,
yeah, you did take him. He's a big man. I'm a little surprised to see how short he was on the morning line. He's coming back off a 13-month layoff. He's the story of that fourth race, which again coincides with the opening leg of today's Jackpot Rainbow Six. And at this point, you would think Arundel is home safe with only 13 racing cards remaining here this summer at Gulfstream Park. As we get into the carryover situation, we've got over $1.25 million up for grabs in that Jackpot Rainbow Six, which kicks off in the fourth race. But lo and behold, Arundel may have their owner's title wrapped up. Things, however, certainly on the trainers front are a little less cut and dry. Now, as far as Edgar Zayas is concerned, he's the lead dog going into the final Baker's dozen. That's right, 13 cards left before we pack up and head over to Gulfstream Park West. He has a full plate of racing ahead of him today.
Yeah, 54 wins. He's had a great summer meeting. And look at the apprentice, Christus Torrance, up there in second with 43 victories.
Yeah, 43 for Christian, and Miguel Vasquez not far behind. Amiseo with 40, and Jairo Rondon and Sammy Camacho both tied with 33. All 5 of those guys, in fact, will see plenty of action on the card. Meanwhile, on the trainers, or on the trainers page, you've got Victor Barboza Jr., who's been batting upwards of 30%, seemingly over the last couple of months. He runs just one horse this afternoon in Grand Reserva, who's running in the second. One of 2 I have in the opening pick 5, Antonio Sano, and how about Safi Joseph and Ralph Nix. Ralph may have the most important day, Ronnie, running those half-siblings back-to-back in the 7th and 8th.
Yeah, we'll see how it does. This is pretty close. You never know what's going to happen here over those last 13 racing days with only leading by 3, Victor leading by 3 over Antonio. So always the trainer standings here goes down to the last couple of days.
And I've got Victor in the mix in the second race. Not single there. I am either going to look just not all that great per se or very smart after this first race. Speaking of Ralph Nix, lo and behold, this is a very, and Ronnie and I will talk and expand upon it in a few seconds, but a very difficult opening maiden 20 to start the new week here at Gulfstream. I like the 4 Super Monster off a legitimately tough and traffic-filled trip last time out here in the middle of August. So if my opinion's right with him, maybe I can string together 4 consecutive or subsequent winners following the first race at about 1:20 Eastern. Use Victor's horse in the second. I've also got Stanley Gold and the 8 Waterloo Sunset. And then there's some good coverage you don't see, though, in race number 4. I think Richard the Great coming back today, if he's going to be that short, I'm willing to bet against a horse who I like as a racehorse. But, I mean, Ronnie, he has not shown any sort of fire, that old fire, in going on close to 2 years on the racetrack.
Yeah, I thought it was a good spot for him. You can't be claimed this afternoon. They have him protected, so I thought maybe that was a good sign. Working up a storm was what attracted me.
Yeah, maybe the work tab is the biggest appeal, in addition, obviously, to the obvious back class with Richard the Great in the 4th race. $27 early pick 5 play for me to start. And I just think, looking at this field as a whole, Ronnie, this upcoming Thursday first, and this will be not only the start of the week, but the opening of 5 turf races on the card, you've really got, I think, a horse for everybody in this race. There's some drop downs. There's horses in the mix that have been running pretty well for maiden 20 of late. A troubled trip horse that I like, and you like one of the drop downs, and I stand corrected.
Yeah, this one is dropping. Closing third on the turf against 40 maidens. Drops after failing to fire. That was against another group of 40 maidens going 7 on the fast track. I think he's the one to beat at this $20,000 level, but you're absolutely right about this race. It's just a total wide open affair.
And Macho Mania, the other, he's the 3, by the way. He's the other sort of marquee drop down, as he's in for the 20 for the first time. And of the horses that have recently been running for 20K, Tiz Luna has showed up and has run fine despite being 0 for 19. And that was the case last time out with German Alberto, who will pull an inside trip as we backtrack to the opener back on August 17th. German Alberto got a very good ride from Andre Ramgeet, just sat basically in the pocket on the rail. The horse that I like, though, is in the Whisper Hill Farm colors of Mandy Pope in the pink and gold, and that is the number 4 Super Monster. At this point, it looks like Reylu Gutierrez, although not sitting on a ton per se, it looks like this gelding by Super Saver has and had some run. Field bunches up. He gets a little bit blind switched. And the short comment, and I get watching races, we can all disagree, the steadied I didn't think really told the story. To me, this horse checked pretty abruptly and was essentially snatched up. Now, again, Ronnie, the question becomes, yeah, I think he had legit trouble. You don't know if he can really run it all, though. That's the potential smoke screen. Was that trouble legit? Did it cost him a couple of placings, or is he just not that good?
And, you have to remember that the one German Alberto was 73-1 that afternoon. I'm not sold on that race, and that was my thought process. But it's a good trip. It's a good trip. No, we'll see how they run. I think it's a great race. I don't see anybody that scares me in this race. And you can look at the board. The 7 horse you alluded to, Tiz Luna, he's been taking the money since the opening bell, but I think this whole thing's going to change as we progress through the day.
And you've got Fine Spirit, who we both have in second, the number 8, who didn't run all that great last time out, but I'm sure there were some people like us saying, second start back off a 2-month layoff.
Yeah, I think he's primed and ready to offer more. You're getting the Apprentice in there. You finish 4th behind a pair of next out winners. So if you like the key race, that is a great betting race. Maybe you hit the all button if you like something in a second.
One and done for trainer Victor Barboza Jr. Again, our leader here as we enter the final 3 weeks, give or take, of this elongated summer meet. And Victor B, undoubtedly in the mix here, maybe as a wise guy horse, if you will, in the 2 Grand Reserva, who just gets a full makeover. There's a lot going on, and maybe in some respects almost too much with that horse as he drops down second time out this afternoon for the 35. There's no debating, though, as far as dirt races go, with these fillies to this point, the 8 Waterloo Sunset has just run and set the bar higher than the field.
Yeah, stretching out to 6.5 furlongs, responded to the drop down last time out with that really improved 3rd place finish against this level, going 3/4 of a mile. Looks like the one to beat there. We're both in agreement. Well, you got the 2 in second. I got Ms. Chaplin, who would try and save more. She was up there on the lead and finished 4th behind Waterloo Sunset. Maybe she holds on, and you're getting Fanny Olson in the saddle today. So maybe that horse runs well and goes to the lead and doesn't look back.
Well, you get the speed for sure. Right. That is a real appeal, the weapon of choice with the 5 Ms. Chaplin. 3rd race, back to the turf. We basically alternate throughout this 9-race card. The odds are the turf races. The evens are the races over the fast main track. Some 2 lifetime, 3 and up filly mare, $10,000 claimers. Getting back to trainer Ralph Nix, who by my count had 5 horses in and won't saddle many big prices, if any, on the card. He's got the 7 Nile Star, who there's a sense of urgency in a filly who's well-bred, trying to find a little bit of an identity here. She's not a lock, but boy, she looks well meant today in for the 10 Gs.
Yeah, dropping to the 10 level and first starts and chasing the pace, weakening. She was fifth that day behind a pretty good group of 16 condition claimers. Had a couple of next out winners. That was during July. Ralph Nix, Apprentice, Kristen Torres. This is a daughter of Pioneer of the Nile, dropping down. Moonlit C in second for me with the inside horse Shanghai Sweetheart. I think Nile Star's race to lose.
Alpilis, who I have highly rated, has got speed as far as the pace is concerned. I'd imagine the 6, CC's Cup of Tea, will be pretty fast with Raylu and Shanghai Sweetheart on the rail. And then I'm Bodie Babe. I like her dropping down in my mind. What I don't particularly care for is the fact, or at least the question with me is, you don't know if she can go 5/8 on the turf. We talk about it all the time. It is such an esoteric type skill.
I kept going back to that horse all along, and I backed off it for that reason. I just couldn't put her closer up. I got her in fourth, but when I first saw the race, I saw the connection. I said, here's the winner, and couldn't do it.
All right, she'll go out for Safi Joseph, who found himself a part of the top 5 traders here at Gulfstream Park. In fact, Safi and the whole gang will see action as we take a little time out. We're back with the Rainbow Six after this.
The best chance for success begins with a solid foundation. At Hardacre Farm, early personal one-on-one care starts the journey to becoming a champion. Bred to leading stallions, our mares represent the highest standards. Hardacre Farm's signature in the breeding industry. Based in Ocala, Florida, breeder and owner Amy Tarrant has inspired excellence throughout her entire career. In your quest for success, start with Hardacre Farm, breeding the champions of tomorrow.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with ExpressBet. Sign up for an ExpressBet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
13 full cards remain here at Gulfstream Park this summer meet, and today is indeed one of them on this Thursday, September the 12th. Jason and Ronnie with you from our clubhouse studios. We are fast and firm, and we hit on Sunday over $1.25 million in the jackpot Rainbow Six, and that is very much in good company with the near $100,000 Stronach 5 carryover that takes place here tomorrow.
Yeah, $96,900. There was one ticket alive. It was the 3-horse, $496. Didn't come through. We had a big long shot winner in the last race here at Gulfstream Park. So that just starts today. You're going to see this thing really skyrocket tomorrow.
$500,000.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think,
feel?
yeah, I think it was something like that we had last time. We had a carryover similar to this.
Yeah, that's going to be my prediction, in and around $500,000. So definitely check out tomorrow's Stronach 5 rundown, a bi-coastal sequence, in fact, as we get a good look on a breezy Thursday from the backstretch here at Gulfstream Park. In fact, speaking of GP, we've got 2 races in the mix, the 2nd and the 5th race, the cash out at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It all begins, Ronnie, with race number 8 tomorrow afternoon at Laurel Park.
Yeah, Laurel Park. Pretty nice sequence. And we have we put us guys that handicap. We put a $72 ticket. We'll show it later on.
Absolutely. I think Stan's got a single, in fact, in the 9th race. He is standing alone with a single, a $72 quote-unquote. We'll use the term all-star grouping, all-star ticket.
I couldn't say that, but
yeah,
you can.
I can. And I'll also say we're going to use that a little loosely here and somewhat liberally, with all due respect. Now, you are the Gulfstream All-Star, my friend, and I expect actually a winning Rainbow Six ticket today, or everybody's money is refunded.
Yeah, $48.60. I did use Richard the Great with the horse we've been talking to. Also, Dropkick and Fortunate Friends in there. I just went 3 deep. Now you go all the way down to race number 8. Now I'm going to single Bella Tormenta, stretching out to 6.5 furlongs. Pretty good win, 2nd consecutive victory. Beat a couple of next out horses called My Sarasota Star and 3 Sox 1, going 3/4. I wanted a single, 48.60. Lots of coverage for me. I just need to get Bella Tormenta home on top today, trained by Jorge Navarro.
And I would imagine, in addition to a Todd Pletcher who starts to pick up at least the occurrence of running across Todd or one of his horses in the entries. The same could be said for Jorge Navarro. I mean, they're two guys that ship down here relatively early and really start to put the roots down during our 2-month run or 2-month stand over at Gulfstream Park West in Miami Gardens. And that Navarro horse is a legit favorite a bit later this afternoon. Now, the 4th race, we do start with the aforementioned Richard the Great, who, again, if we get close to the old Richard the Great, he's going to bury this field. That, to me, though, is the big question.
Yeah, you know, he's returning from, as you mentioned, 13-month-plus layoff, looking to recapture that form he displayed facing stakes competition. Trainer Juan Alvarado. This Arundel homebred has just been firing bullets for the return to action. He's can't be claimed this afternoon. They got him protected. I just thought of that, and he just got so much back class, and the work tab sort of sold me on this.
And there's no, I guess, maybe what would help him theoretically this afternoon. There's no real quote-unquote other horse in this race. You know what I mean? You're not running into, at least as far as the way I drew up the race, there isn't basically a horse who's on par with him at this stage of the game, even though he's got the question marks and potential pitfalls. But I happen to notice the work tab as well. And maybe that's the best sign of all, as he has shown some of the old fire. Again, he really hasn't been all that competitive since mid-December of 2017. I like the 4 Fortunate Friends, who, Ronnie, outside of the turf race 3-back, and his effort here 13 days ago wasn't all that great behind Trophy Chaser. The remainder of his resume this season has been really good, and I like his post, and I like the fact that he's got speed here, just being able to get into the game from the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and he's in for the $35,000 tag, and he drops. He proved no match, as you mentioned, for Trophy Chaser when they competed. That was under allowance conditions last time. He's a major player on my ticket, too. You saw I used him on the Rainbow Six, and just like you did with Dropkick, who's stepping up, stretching out, rallied to finish second against those 25 claimers. Really respect the job that Yvonne Belsour does, and you got leading rider Edgar Zayas in the saddle. Let's see what Richard the Great does if he comes back and he actually is great.
I'd like to see him run. Maybe not great, but even show some of the old oomph that he had. When I first moved here, I thought he might be a Breeders' Cup caliber sprinter. He was really getting the hang of things back in the summer of 2017, but it's a tough game, as we know. He had hands, obviously. Meanwhile, the 5th race, we're back on the turf. We'll start the Thursday late pick 5 with no carryover. We bring on some bottom level for the turf, that is $12,500 maiden claimers. A field that, in many respects, among the 3 that I used, the 2, 4, and 6, there's certainly a comfort given their consistency, but they also have a little bit of that bridesmaid hanging type vibe among Alpiris, Bunyan's Axe, and the 6 Sheldor, who's less lightly raced than the duo that I included, which is a good thing. No singles, though. I thought about, Ronnie, not singling Bella Tormenta because I didn't pick her. Do you think Graceful Princess will run it all this afternoon coming back home here to Gulfstream Park?
I picked her in second there today. She's the one, I wanted to get a single, so my ticket was affordable. But she'll go to wear the blinkers today. I thought she'll run well for Ralph Nick, so I thought she'll run well. But I like the Stormfront one, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Riverfront, who is by Roddy's favorite American-based stallion in Warfront. And, Mandy Pope spending some big money at the Keeneland yearling sales. In fact, just about 24 hours ago, buying a horse, a filly by American Pharaoh, Half the Beholder, and Into Mischief for over $8 million. Now, $8 million doesn't really tell the tale of this upcoming 5th race cast, but like I was saying, between Alpiris, Bunyan's Axe, and the 6 Sheldor, 2, 4, 6, you get the feeling the winner's probably coming from somebody in that trio.
Well, talking about Sheldor, he's been knocking on the door 3 times recently when splitting a pair of in-the-money finishes at this level on the turf. Second place finish, going a mile and a 16th on the main track. What the point I'm trying to make, he's always seems to be there. He just doesn't get that job done.
Well, Alpiris is the same, essentially. Yeah. I mean, 12 starts on the turf, 5 seconds, the last 4 of which have been placings and losses at 3-2 at even money. And the 4 Bunyan's Axe, who's 0 for a baker's dozen on the turf with 5 seconds in the 3rd. So again, you get horses that are pretty honest and are usually in the thick of things which one of these bridesmaids is going to step up today and finally bust down the door.
Yeah, Bunya Jack's 1 for 15. You know, the story's there. You're going to get one of these horses, you would think. But, like I said, if you could find a single somewhere early in the card, maybe you go deeper in here, because not a lot of horses have proved they like to win in that particular race.
Now, I don't see a single, for me anyway, in race number 6, in which after a couple of defections, we go with a field of 8. We'll go a mile, of course, with these 3 lifetime on the main track, that is 6250 claimers. Sweet Caden, this might be the best distance for this gelding. And I do, if you like him, you don't like him, the race, because of his speed and his past success at this distance, I think quite simply goes through him.
Yeah, he's changing barns today. He's going to the Zerpa barn after the claim stretches out to his best distance. 3 starts, a win, 2 seconds, stalked the pace, and faded when facing those 10 condition claimers. That was going 3/4. It was on a sealed sloppy track. This barn really good. You know the story. Over 40% with new claims. MSCL Jaramillo, the go-to jock on top. This is now horse listed as a gelding. So Sweet Caden on top of my ticket.
He is in poor form, though. And that needs to be to at least mention that, I mean, his form has been on a steady decline. And what? I mean, he was claimed last time out for 10, coming back for the bottom. So it's not all roses there on the outside. The 8 Night Strings is going to take some play. He's been pretty good of late, losing to C.S. Goya, who's running here tomorrow on that Twilight Friday, early on our Friday the 13th card in the second for Barboza. And, all right, I like Night Strings. You like the Zerpa claim. We also have another claim in the mix, who's a major player here for Juan Arriagada.
Yeah, the 2-horse Cruzeiro, Juan Arriagada. First, I'm going to show you stat. First, after the claim, all levels on the dirt. He's 6 for 39, 15%, 56% in the money. Still got that positive return investment. Barn is doing really well. Sweet Caden, you're right. I just thought on the drop and the barn change would be the right one, but 3 deep for me, too, on my ticket.
All right, let's move on to the 7th on this 9-race Thursday, September 12th. As we move on to the 7th, we are up in class. In fact, successive, very solid-looking allowance races, one on the turf, one on the main, and we'll bring on the grass horses, the 3-8-up colts and geldings in this upcoming 7th race. And off the bat, I was curious if you were going to pick the 7 Riverfront. Is it a case of him just quite simply having a little bit of talent, but more so Warfront on the turf today?
Yeah, Warfront, he's really beautifully bred, as you heard all throughout the day. Debuts in turf and should, I think, sit the trip, which is more importantly behind the speed. He returned from the layoff. He finished a distant third behind 16 optional claimers. Actually have a stat on Mr. Ralph Nix. Horse is going from dirt to turf, a second after the layoff. He's 13%, 44% in the money, and positive return on investment of 201. I just thought more than I love Warfronts on the turf. I thought this one would sit a pretty nice trip. I like this one this afternoon. I know we're going to get a price on this horse of 6 or 8 to 1, I would believe. And I thought that would be a nice, but to me, it's the perfect trip.
The trip you're drawing up, tracking the 6, Robin taking charge. How do you see the race?
Yeah, I see them all going up for the lead. I see a lot of speed when I was doing this race, and I just thought, hey, Riverfront going to sit that nice trip this time out. So we'll see Robin take charge, move to the Bobby DeBona barn, stretches out, used his speed. He defeated those 35 claimers, going 7-0. He loves this turf course. 4 starts, 2 wins, a third. And Max KO is going back to the turf. He led every step of the way to defeat 16 state-bred optional claimers, going a mile in the 16th on May. He's a speedy sophomore. Raylu Gutierrez, I see speed. I see Riverfront coming from off the pace.
And I do actually like Max KO, and your point well taken that this race does seem a little crowded towards the first flight. I'm going into this believing, and I have all along, that he is a better turf horse, and I am hoping, of course, it sounds good in my mind, I'm hoping it translates to a big effort this afternoon because he'll need it. That's how deep this race came up, but I'm hoping that dirt win last time out, an off-the-turf race here at the end of July, just underscores how well this horse is doing. And maybe today's the day on what I think is his preferred surface. He'll really explode and move forward for trainer Rob Falcone. In talking about a real just affinity for the Gulfstream Park turf, that does seem to be a recent trend of trainer Joe Orsino's horses. I had looked up, and he had a big week here last week, Thursday through Sunday. Over the last 30 days, exclusive to Gulfstream Park, Joe Orsino is 6 for his last 14 with his turf horses for over 40%. And not that he needs a good recent barn streak, if you will, to help out the 9 Timmy M, because this horse may get a fast pace. And he's coming out of a good effort here just under 70 days ago. I really like the ride Jairo Rendon gave this horse. Basically just sat on the rail, saved ground around both turns. You'll see him in the bright pink and green of the Generasios. He'll eventually split horses and put in a very game run of late. Now, today he doesn't escape Ralph Nix or the colors of Whisper Hill Farm, who are on the lead right now with Grand Journey. But when you consider how well Timmy M finished up splitting foes in deep stretch, I know the race was all but over. Look at what Grand Journey's been able to do. He's won 3 straight races.
Yeah, I mean, this Timmy M, I haven't further down on the ticket. This is the horse that totally scares me in the race. If this one comes back and run like it did last time, could be very dangerous. I went with Riverfront trying to get a little bit of a price. Being that beautifully bred son of Warfront, we'll see how that race plays out.
And race number 8, again, the half siblings. That seems to be outside of the big $1.26 million Rainbow Six carryover. The other main story on the track, of course, is the 2 foals we have out of Have the Grace. And in the case of Graceful Princess, she has got that big win, and let's look at it back around Labor Day weekend. This was closing weekend in early September of 2018 at Saratoga Racecourse, and she had run well that day, paid a pretty good price, almost paid about $10 in this race. I get we're going back a long ways, but we saw her, despite not winning, Ronnie, over the wintertime. She ran 2 really admirable races at Gulfstream, one losing to Queen of Bees, who I'm a fan of. The second one maybe not as good here in March. I'm going into this believing, or at least hoping, that you bring her back at Churchill in mid-June, 2 turns. She doesn't get bet last time out in her return to Saratoga. I'm going to argue Gulfstream Park is her favorite place to run, and she's back home, if you will, with trainer Ralph Nix. Going to take her over your top pick, Bella Tormenta.
Yeah, they're putting the blinkers on today after tracking the pace and weekend. You're talking about their race against those entry-level allowance runners up at the Spa. Ralph Nix, Raylu, Gutierrez. We don't have to tell you how beautifully bred this daughter of Tappet is in there. I did go with Bella Tormenta, who I just thought was the logical one. Stretching out to 6.5 again, posted her second consecutive victory.
Let's look at it,
Yeah.
and you could see how game she is. I mean, she did not want to lose. I mean, you could take us through, Ronnie, off the quarter pole. She's the outside speed, essentially, and she just did not want to back down from a real street fight there in the last couple of furlongs.
Yeah, she fights throughout the stretch, and, you know, she's going to hold on, as you see, to win it by that neck. I just thought she ran exceptionally well in this race, and MCL Jaramillo will be in the saddle again today, going for the 3rd consecutive victory on this horse. And there you see the number 7, Bella Tormenta, just digging in and digging in. Now, a couple of horses in that race. Horse I pretty like a little bit. Sarasota Star. My Sarasota Star comes out of that race and wins its next start. Then a horse that's also in their 3 Sox ones come back and win. Not for big level horse, was claiming a win, but I just thought Bella Tormenta off that key race, Graceful Princess, and it is Possible Deer I have on my ticket to the number 1.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to the 9th here. We'll finish off this fast and firm Thursday edition of Gulfstream today. You've got a dozen. We can hang the old no vacancy sign on the starting gate with these 2-year-old filly $25,000 maiden claimers in the last. There is quite a bit of guesswork to be had, though, Ronnie. Field of 12. 3/4 of the group here, these 2-year-old fillies, have raced already, yet nobody has started on the turf before.
Well, I'm going to steal your stat from before with Joe Orsino. Reason I put this one on top, debuting on the turf, responded to the drop down with a duel for the lead, 3rd place finish against Simla, going 5/8. That was on the main track. It's a daughter of Wicked Tune. You know, I just thought this horse, Jairo Rendon, good turf rider, Joe Orsino, the stat you gave, 6 for 11 over the last couple of days, 6 for 14. So that was my reasoning to put Kayla's Tune on top.
And the Generasio seem to breed just, I mean, as far as percentages are concerned, it does feel like they're homebreds more so are turf horses, and maybe turf is the answer all along. Not that she's had a lot of chances at only 0 for 2. Fury Cap Corey was a grade 2 type turf horse during his career. He's a first crop Florida-based stallion, and the 4 Fury song, again, has a similar look to the 6 Kayla's Tune. I would imagine people are going to like that horse as well as the 3 Arctica. If you're going in and looking at this race, quote unquote, logically, Ronnie, it's probably 3, 4, 6 on the majority of tickets, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, Artica, daughter of Brethren, is dropping into the selling ranks, trying the turf, showed some early interest. This is, like you said, a wide open affair. You got to sort of guess what you're doing here. Artisa, I don't know, daughter of Brethren. I'm not crazy about Brethren's on the grass. I think this is a good spot. They're running for $25,000 tag.
1 of 4 in the mix for Arundel Farm. Again, your leading outfit at the meet with 15 wins. We'll see how their Richard the Great does in the 4th race. We will settle in for a big Rainbow 6, and we've got the man coming up now, Pete Aiello, with those scratches and changes.